All right, Dashing Rogue, I was in your chat yesterday over the Ukraine stuff. So the deal with the Ukraine thing is this. One of the things that you have picked up from both, this would be Fox, everybody, CNN, MSNBC, all the way to Deutsche Welle. Um, okay, the whole deal with the Azov Battalion, why this is so important is this, they were in the Maidan itself. So when this was just a protest building, there were these people with photographs of a leader of Ukraine during World War II named Stepan Bandera. So when the Ukrainian nationalists, when after World War II, when they were all sorted out, they became a government in exile, and they were brought over here for diplomatic purposes. So we ended up, this dovetails with a bunch of people we took in that's referred to as the Gehlen Network, Gehlen. That's the where Bush got all of the brain power for the CIA. They were the SS Waffen Intelligence Eastern Front. Research into Ukraine turned that up. And it's a very specific person who is on Alex Jones named John Loftus, Loftus, writing about a book called America's Nazi Secret. The whole deal with Ukraine is we needed Cyprus to not allow for the South Stream to happen. That was a critical thing to cut off Russia's ability to become a real energy power that could compete against a new alignment that's already happening in the Middle East. Another thing that Trump has mentioned, nobody wants to touch, called the Gulf Cooperation Council. That's a totally separate thing. Look it up. This is real. It's not just an idea that is theoretical. This is real. These people have cross-trained together. They're actually working together militarily. And you can, and there was a specific person here on YouTube, who's no longer on YouTube, who did a lot of work looking through battlefield footage to find stuff that the GCC had been up to. So the whole deal now with Ukraine, that stuff that you had brought up, is the Azov Battalion was key in attacking areas that are refinery areas, but it's also that they're probably pumping from there, or maybe there's natural gas. I've only recently caught up to the ExxonMobil Hunter Biden thing with Burisma. That was to start a giant fracking program in what were now abandoned civilian centers, because the Azov Battalion went after civilians. This is what is the big thing that everyone's hiding. How these people met, how Rise Above ends up over there, no idea. This is and the only reason why I think that story of them getting arrested for fighting over there and then nothing, we don't hear anything about it. Like, why isn't this on every page saying the alt-right is fighting in Ukraine? Because they can't talk about Ukraine. They cannot discuss this group of 22 mercenaries from 22 different nations. And really, like, so this also then, right now, the Kurds are going to get rolled up by Turkey. So there were people who are Antifa who were fighting over there with the YPG. This is another thing. It was in Rolling Stone, multiple page article. Nobody's talking about Americans who fought over there. They didn't even get arrested. Nobody even has discussed who those people were. So the idea of that there's these mercenary, so this gives credibility to the idea that this was a grassroots revolution, that this wasn't something started, and now this is the big one Stranahan put me onto, Civil Society 2.0. He has found this going into Occupy Wall Street. He's found this going into the Maidan, all the color revolutions. This then dovetails with actually George Soros claiming credit for the Maidan success. So this is where it even gets weirder. Super liberal George Soros, former Nazi George Soros, but then on top of it, he then creates this, that has one side where there had the national colors blue and gold and white, right? And that's like all happy Ukrainians who are now free of all the corruption of a elected government. They had elections. They could have just elected somebody else. And then you have this other bunch who are in red and black. You will find, I think, one of the images they tried to set up, again, another credibility thing, Pussy Riot at Sochi Olympics. Remember when they got their ass whooped by some security guards? Look at the patches. Those are Ukrainian red and black patches. Those aren't Russians. So there, and then in this, when you find this photo, this lasts about a minute 30. Like, Pussy Riot tries to do its little thing, and then they come out and they're like, yah, 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 and they start whipping them with Cossack whips, and they run off. But there's press everywhere. They're practically running into, like journalists as they're running off. Like, everybody's crowded by all the journalists. So it was totally some kind of big photo op. That I still haven't figured out. So there's a lot of this that I'm still putting a lot of this together, trying to see how it weaves together. The Dugan stuff, you're totally on point. You're totally on point. But Ukraine was, the eastern half of Ukraine, that's an agreement between Russia and Ukraine. And that when people went eastward and like Russia supposedly invaded, that's not true. Even Fox News says this. Even the Republicans say this. It's not true. It was completely legal separation of one region from another, according to the laws that govern that stuff over there. This and so this whole thing of them being invaded, nobody thinks that but Americans. I'm absolutely like, and I know I'm right about this. Like, I remember this quite specifically. This was basically to cut off the White Fleet from warm water ports. This is exactly what it was. Trying to get Greece and Turkey to act in a certain way was also going to do this. Remember, Turkey did start to block Russian ships from leaving the Bosporus. I don't know if any of you remember that. So collapsing Cyprus, collapsing the Ukraine in the Bush administration, messing with South Ossetia, all of this is a pipeline called the South Stream. So what was going on? George Papadopoulos was developing the Aphrodite and East Med oil fields. Syria wasn't able to keep their hold on their territorial waters during their horrible run-in with these terrible rebels. These rebels who, of course, we were paying. They seized a whole part of the territory. There's now an air base there that we fundamentally own in the Turkish region. And that's, Erdogan is dealing with that because fundamentally it comes, this is another level of it. It is the Chabahar Port Project. This is a port that's going to be in Iran, and it's going to run up to Turkey, and that's going to run up to the sea. And at Turkey is going to be the Lapis Lazuli trade corridor. This was the Inter-Asian and Russian project that would contest One Belt, One Road. One Belt, One Road is mostly sea shipping. This is physically going through Inter-Asia, through the stands. Russia had to work a long time to get these agreements. But that's the idea. And so this is going to make the stands wealthier than they could have ever imagined. It's going to open up a whole world of trade to them. This is going to change. They're part of this is how Eurasia will be opened. One Belt, One Road, you have to get it from the shore inland. So that's its own control and logistics issue. Russia and all these countries were like, we can't wait for that. They don't have enough people. All those countries don't have enough people that they could be some kind of overwhelming force that could really take on something like Europe or the United States. Not yet, not for another generation or two. They don't have the people, and they have too much territory. Yeah, that's just another thing that had hit me, that people are thinking a little too much about warfare and stuff like that. But so these were some things that I just wanted to throw your way that I think might help. And I put a lot of this on my Discord. I'm gonna later tonight edit the video, so I'll put in my Discord link, and I'll send it also to you on. I found you on YouTube, on Twitter, so I'll send you a Discord invite. All right, later.